Lovely stuff. And I'd like to welcome back then Pauline Sewards.
Yay!
I just wondered if I could do a plug for an event that I'm organising with Elizabeth Parker, who's written a book called In Her Shambles, which I was reminded of when you were reading, and that's published by Seren, and also Jill Abram, and that's at the Toriano on July the 11th, and it's part of the regular Sunday night, and you're all welcome to come to that. So I'm going to read some more poems. This one's for Wendy. Wendy and I were both very sad earlier in the year when Marquis Smith passed away, and maybe other people too. So this is called Attitude, and he was going to play in the Fiddlers in Bristol. Okay. This is the last fall gig, the bitter fig, the twisted cig, the rig unrigged in the stone clink. With the first fall fan, ankle tattoo like two biro twigs, no rock, no punk, no polish, no spit. Boy in a white shirt, boy in a woolly jumper, rider in two carrier bags, unlikely provider of the last fall gig, built wheelchair ramp and safe den on the high stage, queue overlaps around the block, round the stone clink. After the thousand shows, this is no show. Sends unlikely love to the empty stage. Boy in a white shirt, boy in a woolly jumper. Everyone will say they were there, but you weren't there either. Fans overlap around the block. What will we do now? Spun out and suddenly older. Spun out and suddenly older. I am very lucky to have this book, This Is the Band, which was edited by Susan Johns. And there's a mouse story and a different Susan Johns, amazingly. Amazingly. There's a mouse story in this, because I work in London once a month, and we used to meet in the British Library for the editing. And there was actually a little mouse crawling around the steps that are behind a glass case, and we didn't split on it. Didn't tell the cafe. So it's my, this is quite a personal poem. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, and she's like 30. She's like the happiest person in the world, but this is called Baby Blues. Early summer, the squeak of tennis balls on damp grass, cats basking on windowsills, picture book scenes, you, dumpling in a handkerchief, a wriggling mass of need and want beneath your shawl, I, nervously worshipping you, my body sore and asymmetrical, a fountain of milk and tears, my eyes fixed on you, your purple thumb bruised from sucking in the womb, your eyes apparently fixed to mine, not really focused, I was told, but gleaning impressions. You were an animal, sniffing out my body's treasures for survival, my miracle shared with visitors, a past parcel, cake and roses, polite words exchanged. I covered up wounds, fears of mortality. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. On TV, the fire on the oil rig bloomed, night after night. The Piper Alpha disaster. I wept, up to my elbows in cold suds with the pity of death and the weight of years. Dredged this feeling in later years. Those were my blues. Can they help me understand yours? And this one's a real thing I witnessed. I was going to have all music in this half, but I kind of wanted to read this. Interview at the DWP. Police have more manners than these women who, with their thin lips and delicate lockets, are guardians of the nation's purse. They are strangers to pity, manglers of language, spit dry words in a parody of trial. After fussing with the double tape recorder, which is alleged to make everything fair, they trick with their trip-up questions, probe for perfect recall of dates and actions, an interrogation of self-righteous proportions based on a neighbour's spite. I see a proud man disintegrate, feel his whiskey thirst, his rising shame on seeing played back to him like a dirty secret, a walk without crutches shown Crime Watch style, each step highlighted with a laser pointer. No film of the courage it took to attempt this, or the pain he felt for days afterwards. He's called on to account for himself by the job's worth judge and jury. I bear witness, my mouth buttoned up by protocol, want to howl for the right to be human. I've lost track of time. One more, two more, a couple more. Okay. This is, yeah, I'm really happy to read a couple more. I've just got just really bad at not having a watch. So this is another daughter one, actually. This one's happier. New. I'm taking you out by myself for the very first time, up to the baby clinic in 7 Dials. I've strapped you to my chest and I'm worried that your legs are too small for the holes in the sling and your whole body will slip out with an appalling lack of logic. I hold your well-cushioned bum in my palms. It's the size of a grapefruit. And I remember how during the pregnancy, which seems so long ago now, I got into the habit of resting my hands on the bump, proprietorial. You are 2 weeks old. The two of us are now a show, an open book. As we stroll past the neighbours, comments are made about the size of your fingers, the sweet seed pearl curls being the only skin that is fully visible. I think of the minute passages in your nose and chest, already stained by the particulates and smog of roads and roundabouts. I want to filter the air just as I filter your food through my breast. The lady who sleeps on 7 Dials has swollen, ulcerated legs. She rarely speaks, but today she asked me how old you are. Her voice is like a machine that hasn't been cranked up for a very long time. She says, well, she won't be 2 weeks old forever. And I want to take you down to the beach, to the arcade museum with the penny machines and sunset breaking over the ruined pier. We'll leave the house to do its own work. I'll be your camel along the pebble shore. The murmuring soundtrack of the town will soothe us both. And, I'm really grateful that my daughter actually likes this book, seeing that she features in it in lots of different places. So this is, I'm not so sure that my neighbour would enjoy this poem so much. It's kind of odd. Let's see what you think. It's regrets. Geraldine came over on the Windrush. She's been a widow far longer than the wife. In her backyard she keeps rabbits and plantain, runner beans that flower red in July. We are neighbours. Everything we do touches her. She ignores the sound of scratch guitars on summer afternoons, but when I load the washing machine, she's on my case, claims that the soap-suds water infiltrates her drains. She invites me round during the spin cycle, shows me evidence which only she can see. I say, I'm sorry, but I'm insincere, because what else is there to say? There's nothing there. Her son says she's losing her memory. Her mind's like a cheese grater raddled with gaps. She talks about Jamaica as if she still lives there. And her obsession with water can't be shaken away. I say, I'm sorry. And she says, stop saying sorry, woman. If you say it one more time, I'll bash you on the nose. I wash my clothes at night time now. I hope she's taken her hearing aid out as the juddering reaches its peak. I'm sorry I've been an absentee neighbour and that we've never had a real conversation. Stories of the Windrush and Jamaica and her long dead husband. All I represent to her is dirty water, swirling in imaginary, frothing in the drain, and my knee-jerk English sorries, bland as beige curtains. Geraldine dresses scruffy now, not smart like she used to. I shake her hand and hold it longer than necessary, feel her warmth against my palm. This is kind of the first poem in the book. It's called This is the band who sleep in my house. I've never met them before, but I've seen the hummocky shapes they make when sleeping. Their hair spread out over cushions in the early mornings when I trespass my own sitting room with a shriek of sorry, which makes them stir, but they'll never remember. These are the kids who test the resilience of their livers with BYOB and teacupped whiskey, night after night upstairs in pubs and community halls, pushing the envelope of indie with loud, ripping vocal cords and vintage shirts. These are the kids who one day will watch their own kids on stage, just like the two of us, sharing cheap Merlot, linked in the long packs of friendship, the grey in our hair shining like glitter, standing on chairs for a better view, dancing with care. There's a long way to fall.
Thank you very much, Pauline Sewards.